I voted for Donald Trump.
The Chef Creole restaurant in Miami's Little Haiti neighborhood is typically bustling with customers. Not today.
People are scared.
Owner Wilkinson Sajor says it's not just the clientele. After 34 years in business, he's lost his entire management team at 7 locations and will likely have to shut down 2 stores due to the end of temporary protected status.
The end of TPS means for me that my future in the hospitality business is almost going to be non-existent.
On Sunday, federal officers made an immigration arrest outside one of his restaurants.
What would you say to the president that you voted for?
He sold to me that he is a businessman and that he will be making business decisions.
Do you regret your vote?
Yes, I do.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, reading verse 15. It says, "Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy power shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother." I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel. Shalom to you brothers out there, man, that are laboring and during the elements, making your body a living sacrifice, trying to seal the elect, making your call and election sure, seeking out your own salvation, as well as you sisters that are learning, listening, applying, being obedient to your husbands. Shalom, shalom. Again, it's the brother Zachariah coming back to you with another lesson. All right, here on this Saturday morning, and Lord willing, this be edifying. All right, so as you saw the clip in the beginning, you seen the Haitian brother, which has the businesses, all right, and he was talking about how, you know, he's feeling the blunt of all these things that are happening. You know, he pretty much, he said that he voted for Donald Trump, and, you know, I guess he was expecting change and stuff like that, but therefore things ain't going as he thought, all right? Now, you know, with the whole ICE agents, which they're not just coming after our Northern Kingdom brothers, but they looking at a lot of the Southern Kingdom tribes as well. They're going after all tribes. And that's just part of this man coming down with great wrath, which we'll get a little bit more into that a little later in this lesson. But, you know, him coming down with that great wrath. So he's coming after Haitians as well, all right? And with that, this guy who's a Haitian, I'm pretty sure his restaurants that he has several chains, and they serve Haitian food. So it's going to bring a lot of them, you know, clientele and customers and stuff. So with that, everybody's hiding, and not really, because he said several of his locations, I think people were deported. Okay, so now it's hurting his business. Okay, because a lot of them were coming for the food and stuff like that. Okay, so now he's regretting even voting for Trump. Okay, which we in no wise should be voting for them anyways, because they're not our people. Okay, they're not our people. You know, we're supposed to vote for our own people. You know, these so-called kings, these presidents, kings, rulers, however you want to call them, we're not to set them over us. So the whole election and voting thing, it's really, which they're not even elected, they're selected. All right. You know, who's going to get in there is going to get in there. They had that one election where I think, according to the election, this one guy won. What was it? Al Gore. Who did he go up against? Was it Bush or something? But Gore actually won. But they played around with it to make sure Bush was getting in, because it was set for him to get in there, but nobody really wanted him. But he got in there, and he was doing the whole agenda for the elite. That dude even kept blurring out New World Order, you know. So everything's gonna play out the way that they want it. Okay. But that's still just the way it is, you know. And even if our people did vote for our own people, okay, it will usually be a sellout, or if they don't go with the agenda, eventually they'll be knocked off. Which, speaking of Haiti, you had the situation during the pandemic where the Haitian leader, he wasn't doing all that old crazy stuff, you know, putting the juice in the arms of his people. He's like, our people, we fine. Ain't nobody out here getting sick or nothing. So what happened? He ended up him and his wife got assassinated. All right. And I'm not sure if they actually murked them in the house. I think they got shot, but they might have went to the hospital and they were still like breathing, living. And I think the the mercenaries or whatever came and finished the job at the hospital. So you already know that that was all set up and planned. They wasn't going with the agenda, and they got murked. All right, that's how Esau does, man. Because he's the violent man, the bloody man. All right, you had that one leader over in Africa. I can't remember if it's Kenya or Tanzania. It was one of the two. I remember hearing about the story, but you know, they was doing them COVID tests, and he sent in samples of like fruit or animal. One was animal, I think one was like fruit. It was something crazy, and they all came back positive for the C19. So it was like, okay, now they're just showing you that they were making that stuff up. You know, it was all making up. And he made a mocker. He pretty much proved that what they was doing was bullshit. So they came back and they got him for that, man. They took him out because, but see what it is they studied that dude and they knew he had heart problems. So they try to say that he went out with a heart attack, and I'm like, nah. And we know better than that. Us and it's true. You know, these devils even admit they have like what they call a heart attack gun. They got stuff that they can use to take you out. All right. They got a gun, I think, where it shoots like ice bullets or something. You know, I don't know if it keeps them cool, but it dissolves in you, so there'll be no trace of like a bullet or nothing. But it can, and it can pierce you, but it's really not traceable. You know, where they can link it back to anything. You know, and go in there and do what it need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, this dude think of some wicked ass stuff, and like the elders always said, this man got some shit there that just blow your mind. You know. Which he ain't lying. These devils, with the more and more stuff be coming out, they got some weapons. I mean, I remember seeing a Amalekite do a video one time, and he was just like, his mind, man, he just couldn't, like, he's like, man, y'all just can't imagine this type of weapons these people got. He's like, man, they got a weapon that targets certain races of people and stuff in certain areas and all that. It's crazy, the stuff that Esau does, man. All right? The Bible says that this man can't go to sleep unless he has done mischief, man. Okay? But yeah, you are not to set one over you that is not of your brethren. And that's why, you know, now he's looking stupid, okay? Because of that. Now he's talking about, you know, he might have to shut some of his businesses down, which that's biblical prophecy too. The scripture says that, hey, you know, the sown places will eventually appear unsown, all right? So that right there itself is also biblical prophecy. All right, but this is Psalms 118, reading verse 8, and it says, it is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh than to put confidence in man. And when you vote like that, you're putting your confidence in this man that they're going to do right and all that, okay? And that's just not where it is. Hey, you know, we can't even put that trust and stock in our own people right now. We got 2/3. We got sellouts. You know, there's wicked men of Israel. Not all Israel is Israel. So that's why it's very important to just put your trust in your stock in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. All right? Then to put your confidence in men. All right? So again, it is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh than to put confidence in men. And I want to put up the word confidence. And it says confidence is a feeling of trust in someone or something, or a belief in your own abilities to succeed. All right. So your trust right now, especially our people, is in what? The so-called white man, Esau, Edom. Okay. Your trust is in Babylon the Great. Okay. Which you know as America. You know, our people flock here and think, oh, I'm going to come here. I'm going to get a better life. Everything's going to be all right. Okay. But it's not. Okay. It's nothing but pure hell. All right, I got this article here, moving on. This is from The Guardian, and it says Haitians face arrest and deportation after U.S. removes the TPS protections. Okay, so you see that? It says hundreds of thousands of Haitians are faced with the prospect of imminent risk of arrest and deportation to a home country racked with crime, violence, and political unrest. Hell, all that's happening here too. Okay, no matter where you go, all hell's going to be breaking loose. It says after the Trump administration officially stripped them of humanitarian protections that had allowed them to live and work legally in the United States for years. So you see that? Scriptures tell you never trust thy enemy, for like as Aaron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. Okay? You see that? You got to beware of this guy. You know, he's smiling in your face, man, but if you turn your back, man, he imagines how to throw you in a pit. Okay? This is Psalms 37, reading verse 12. It says, the wicked, which they are the wicked, all right, plotteth against the just. Who are the just? The Israelites, all right? It says, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth, okay? And that can go into his military, okay? His ICE agents, man, his FBI, his CIA, all right? You know, the Coast Guard and all this kind of stuff, you know? He sends all these different individuals in, you know, to keep our people in check, okay? He got witches and warlocks and all that. This dude got a whole big team, you know, and that's why he's puffed up, because he's thinking, you know, he's doing, you know, left hand sorcery and all kinds of wicked stuff. You know, he's thinking with all this combined, he's unstoppable. You know, even the mindset of the people is like, who can make war with this beast, man? All right, I tell you who can make war with him. All right, the Most High. All right, Yahweh Shai, the holy angels. Okay. And our people in their right mind, not as far as like going into battle with them, but we're going, you know, because this thing's spiritual, all right? We're in a fight with them every day, right now as we speak. Even me doing this lesson, that's war. We're at war with them, man, okay? We speaking thus saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. We don't need no weapons or nothing crazy. We ain't got to do all that. Just us speaking the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. That right there is detrimental to this man's kingdom. That's why he's doing everything in his power to come up against us. Okay? You know, this week has been trying for me. I've been dealing with, you know, this sickness and all that, feeling sick. You know, and I woke up this morning and still, you know, feel like crap. But at the end of the day, you know, hey, I'm striving and continuing moving forward, you know, because you can't let these things get to you. All right. But again, it says the wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. And like I said, that's his military. All right. But we ain't supposed to be in a spirit of fear. We don't fear men. What's up, y'all? All right. And like I was saying earlier, you know, that's part of him coming down with great wrath, all right, which I want to go here to the book of Revelations 12:12. And it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them, all right. And it says, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, all right, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. And knowing that you have a short time, you're going to move in such a way that you you know, you're gonna be out here just chilling and everything's good. You just relax and no worries. No, you coming down with great wrath, you know, and he's coming after all the tribes. That's why I said, even you knew it was bad when he started messing around with Gad. You know, he's questioning Gad now, you know, but they have been things where they were saying that Gad was teaching like some of Issachar, the Navajo you know, language and all that. They was teaching them stuff like that so that they, you know, but that's what the tribes do. The tribes going to work together. All right. Hey, they with us. You know, they part of it because, you know, we can blend in, you know. You look at my family, man, is like, man, you got some, they might look like they, you know, Southern Kingdom. You got Gad, man. You got Issachar, all that. I got cousins that look like Issacharites, man, you know. I actually got family in Panama, you know, Panamanian relatives, man. My cousin went down there, which they you know, they may not know that they Israel, but they're actual, you know, but they're from Panama, all right. But my cousin, you know, he's being of the tribe of Gad. You know, he was in the military, and when he was down there, he had got him a Panamanian wife, man, and had kids. So he's got family. You know, we got family down there. All right, I got cousins that got Issacharite wives, so I got, you know, a lot of Issacharite kinfolk. Okay, our people are spread abroad, man. Okay, but again, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. All right, absolutely. All right, which leads me to my next article, and this is some local stuff, man. All right, or, you know, at least, you know, the state, I should say. But it says Indiana Public Media. All right, this is news. All right, and this was an article that I was holding on to. I was meaning to go into, but I saw that video clip earlier, and I knew that was a spirit. I'm like, I need to go into this stuff with Haiti, because there's a lot of more information pouring out all the time. Okay. But it says around 7,000 Haitian workers to be removed from Indiana's workforce on Monday. And this was back on July 26. All right. We are now in August. But just showing you these things, okay, because we got some Haitians up here. You know, there was I think it was a few, several weeks back. It might have been about a month ago or so. You know, it's hard to really keep up, but I remember I had to use a Lyft. I had to get one of them Lyft rides, and the driver was Haitian. All right, he was listening to all that compa and all that, you know, and I'm like, oh shoot, this dude's Levite, man. All right, you know, he was playing some of the songs that I listen to, because you know my music taste is different. You know, I know a lot of Jakes in Babylon, they might listen to hip hop, you know, hip hop here, but I listen to a lot of music of other you know, other regions, you know, especially where our people are, but different type of genres. There's genres that you never even heard of, you know, different languages and all that, and it helps you out, and I pick up on words and stuff like that. I'm able to communicate, you know, because when you think about the men of the Lord, a lot of them, they could speak more than just one language. You know, we're just not subject unto English. Just because someone ain't speaking English don't make them mean they ain't an Israelite. You know, don't be simple. You know, or some people start, you know, acting weird because you don't speak English. You know, all right, English ain't even our language. Our language is the ancient Hebrew. Okay, but we're coming back to that. All right, we'll definitely get it in the kingdom. All right, we got some noise going by. See, when you start that word coming out, there come the noise. All right, oh no, it's like a fire truck. But anyways, it says the Weedberline Katut owns a flower shop in oh, I guess that's her name. That's a weird name. She kind of looked like one of my sisters. You know, she got that face. All right, but my sister's a little bit more slimmer in the face. But it says, but her father is the main breadwinner of the family. All right, wait a minute. It says she studied at Ivy Tech Community College. All right, he's a team leader. Salakia. It says at an Indianapolis warehouse, and his income pays the bills and mortgage of their home, where the family all lives together. Which that's a lot about. You look at some of the other tribes, if they're like from other countries, they're very family oriented like that. Over here in Babylon, it's so bad, like, you know, your folks, they'll kick you out. You know what I'm saying? You know, it'd be so much dysfunction. They'll be telling a 13-year-old kid, you ain't paying no bills around here, or, you know, or making you feel bad for not paying any. And it's like, I'm 13, you know, what more can I do? You know, I think, what is the legal age for working is like, what, 16 or something? You know, so why be like that? You know, but hey, it's the curses, man. All right, I grew up in a dysfunctional household, and that's why my grandmother, she took me, my older sister, in and raised us, because she was like, nah, you're not gonna do that to them. And that's what kept me in the right mind, because I could only imagine where I would be, you know, if it was any other way, because, you know, it was just a lot of dysfunction. And I look back on all that, and it's all lines up with the curses of Deuteronomy. You know, I see all of it, and I just think like, dang, you know, both of my parents, man, you know, I love them, but it is what it is, man. The curses, man, really overtook my peoples, man. All right, and I see it. But my grandmother, man, she instilled a lot of principles and a lot of stuff in me, you know. And then when you start to look at a lot of that and look at the scriptures, it lines up, okay? You know, from what she knew, you know, the things that, you know, my grandparents knew, you know. Now we coming into this, we're getting the whole wisdom, you know, all of it, you know, we're understanding the mysteries and things. But, you know, she was telling me about, you know, don't go out here just be laying with any and every woman and doing all kind of stuff, you know, settle and get you a wife, and, you know, all that. You know, she told me about not getting tattoos, even though I got them later on, but I was taught that, you know, I didn't have to come into this truth to know that, you know, getting tattoos, you know, doing drugs and all that, we was taught not to do any of that stuff. All right. You know, being an alcoholic, a drunkard, and all that. You know, I was taught all that. Okay. But yeah, it says, what does it say? We are very hard workers, she said. She said we know how to provide for our families. All right. But I don't know how to pronounce her last name. But the family, says, faces an uncertain future. You see that? It says that because they are all Haitian immigrants, and on Monday, her father will no longer have legal status and the ability to work. So you see that? That's with all that stuff going on with the Trump administration. So you see, And all that goes back to the curses. Our people are still feeling these curses, man. It wasn't just like, 16, 19 or whatever. Some of our people are starting to feel it now more than ever. All right, but this is Deuteronomy 28, starting at verse 65. It says, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease. So you see, it says, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord Yahweh, all right, shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of minds. And I brought this precept out last night's lesson. See how it comes back. Okay. Verse 66, it says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life. Because see, they're very family oriented. They're working. And then now the father things are looking uncertain, and he's the breadwinner. So if he gets taken out of it, things are going to start turning out and looking really bad. Okay. So you have that situation. I did that lesson where you had the Northern Kingdom family where the father got deported, and then the wife, she wasn't getting deported, but she went with him because she was like, I'm not letting my husband go like that. She went with her husband, and when they got off on the plane back into their country, they was met with violence, and they got slaughtered, and their bodies are found in a field, and that's crazy, man. So they came here seeking asylum. And then they went back and got just to get sent back home and meet judgment. Okay, so that's a lot of things, and then and it's no different even in Haiti. There's a lot of violence and stuff. All right, not as much as they portray it to be. Esau puts a lot of that in the media. I've seen some videos of Haitians showing you places and it's like, look, you see any violence going on? They say you can't believe everything in the media, but it is bad. It is bad in certain places. Okay, and even in Jamaica, I've heard the stories of that. I worked with a lot of Benjamites in my early years, and they would tell me all the stories and stuff that was going on. They said certain cities is really, really bad. And then the police, they said the police they don't play. It's like you running from the police, they shoot you. They ain't no, if you armed or unarmed, it don't matter. You get shot. It's like, I was like, damn, that's crazy. They ain't chasing nothing. You trying to run, you gonna get shot. That's it. But again, it says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life. And that's a lot of our people. Okay. Oh, it gets worse, man. Which, speaking of that, it leads me to this, which I brought this article out in another lesson, actually twice. But I want to bring it out while we're on the topic of the Haitians, okay, which are our people. They just of a different tribe. And you know that Moses is a Levite, okay? Moses is a Levite, Aaron, all right, Miriam, okay? This is an article here where it says Haitian man with toothache had major infection when he died in ICE custody. All right, Emmanuel Damas, all right, it says 56, died in March inside a U.S. ICE facility in Florence, which that's part of the prophecy too, will be cast off in these prisons, all right, which I went into this, how he died of that, okay, but there was a part that I wanted to read in this, all right, because the family was looking for answers. They were like, what happened, okay? Yeah, this is it right here, down here at the bottom. All right, it says Damas came to the U.S. in February 2024 through a program under the Biden administration. And see, that's the thing. When Biden set it all up, all right, for them. He was bringing them over here, and that was getting them judgment, okay, which a lot of them during his administration, when they was coming over, in order to come over, they had to get all them you know what, all right, you got to watch your words, which I don't want to talk about the Jews.
When he died in ICE custody in Arizona.
All right, let me get out of here. I'm hearing some kind of noise.
That's according to a new.
Oh, okay, this up
That's
here.
according to a new preliminary cause.
Let me do that. Okay, there we go. Because I don't like all that going on in there. But he brought a lot of the people over, but in order for them to come, they had to get the there's a Cuban brother at my job. He said that he had to get like 6, 7, or 8, something like that. It was a whole bunch of them, okay? He had to get a bunch. And I think he even got called to go to some kind of building or whatever and get more. Even now that he's here, he ended up having to go get more. And I've been ever since that, I've been watching his patterns, and I noticed and that's why I said I felt like he was getting everybody sick, because he was in there just hacking and coughing, and next thing you know, you see I'm all jacked up all this week. I've been sick, But all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, you know, because that's the power we serve, you know. You know, he's a healer, you know, and I'm just grateful that it's not keeping me down, you know, like bed bound, which I have been bed bound, but not like bound to where I'm not able to get out and do lessons. But it's just, it's been a rough one this whole week, you know, because of it. But, you know, a lot of our people, that's why I don't like, you know, when I know people that took that, you know what, I really don't like being around them, because I feel like when I'm around them, you know, like you start feeling sick and stuff. I don't know, you know. It's almost like one of them, you see one of them movies, them Resident Evil movies, and you like people are infected with the you know what, and you don't want to be around them, you know, because it's contagious. All right. But yeah, he came here and he was seeking, you know, that asylum, man. All right. And then he had those issues and he couldn't get the proper care because now you locked up. Okay. But this is Lamentations 4:17 says, as for us, our eyes is yet filled for our vain help, and our watching we have watched for a nation that could not save us. Babylon the Great can't save you, man. All right. Putting your confidence in men, putting your confidence in a country and not in the Most High, that's crazy. All right. But that's a lot of our people, because our people have forsaken the Most High, man. So he's forgetting you, you know, and your children. All right. And now they're going to be out here looking, you know, unless they come across the men of the Lord. The Heavenly Father opens up their eyes and their ears to receive this truth. All right. This is Proverbs 3. All right. Starting at verse 5, it says, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. You know, that's a problem with our people. They like to lean unto their own understanding. You got to come out of that. All right. You gotta come out of that way of thinking. All right. Because that's not going to get you anywhere. You know, verse 6, it says, in all thy ways acknowledge him. And that's the thing. You got to acknowledge the Most High. All right. You know, even like I said, with me going through my adversities this week, you know, I'm in that spirit of Job. No matter what, you got to, hey, you praising your how about Shem Yahushua, man. You grateful through it all. You know, I'm grateful for another day that he woke me up and giving me an opportunity to get it right. All right. To do these lessons, to edify my people, go out and labor. All right. So I can be counted worthy of salvation. All right. That's the kind of spirit you got to be in. And I'm grateful for that. Okay. So again, it says, in all thy ways acknowledge him and he shall direct thy path. So he's going to direct your path. Okay. You know, and that's the type of spirit you got to be in. But as for our people that refuse that and forsaking Yahweh Shem Yahushua, this is for you right here. This is Isaiah 30, starting at verse 1. And I'm going to go ahead and close it out with this. And I pray that this has been an edifying lesson. All right. Like I said, just a little something in the spirit. I was holding on to that one article, you know, the 7,000 Haitians being deported. So while going into that, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. And I saw that clip, which, you know, that was the spirit letting me know, hey, you need to go ahead and go into that. All right. But there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of war talks. All right. Which that's probably going to be the theme of my highways, because there's a lot of war talks, a lot of stuff going on. And it's getting to the point where, I mean, they're making videos of, you know, invading like the Middle East. You got some talking about, hey, they're making weapons that can reach Babylon the Great. It's a lot of stuff going on right now. And it's like, whoa. So it's going to be a lot of stuff being covered, all right, in this highways, all right. But this is Isaiah 30, starting at verse 1. It says, woe to the rebellious children. That rebellious children is our people, all right. It's our people. But it says, all right, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, all right. It says that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, all right. Verse 2, it says that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth. Okay, so you're going into Egypt, which this place is spiritual Egypt. All right, so you're going into Egypt. All right, and you haven't asked at the mouth of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. All right, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. All right, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. So you're putting your trust in this place. All right, you know, just like that brother in the beginning, the clip. You know, he was putting his trust in Babylon the Great and vote for Trump, that things were going to get better and things were going to, you know, and they all being let down. Okay, I got there's a lot of Trump supporters at my job, and they're talking shit about Trump, and in the inside, I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's crazy, man. You know, thought he was gonna do this and do that, and look at where it's at. But you know, I'm just making conversation with him. But deep down, I'm smiling. I'm like, look at them now, man. They thought everything was gonna be sweet, it's terrible. All right, and that's what happens, man. That's what happens when you trust in you know, in men instead of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right, but again, it says that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. All right, verse 3, it says, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. So it's going to be your shame and your confusion for putting your trust and your stock in Yahweh Shem, in Babylon the Great, and not in Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. So that's what happened, and they don't have an answer. But those that are us in this faith and this truth, we know why. We know why, and we see why, you know. But Lord willing, we continue to endure, all right? We continue to put our trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushua and not in our confidence in men, all right? And the Heavenly Father guides us and direct our paths and our steps through all this, all right? So with that, call all Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders of the nation of Israel, and shalom to you brothers and sisters out there, and to the next one. Shalom.